Hello everyone, myself Dr. Aurobinda Sundar Das. I am working as Assistant Professor in Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering in Swami Vivekananda Institute of Science and Technology. Today I am going to introduce a subject that is known as Digital Signal Processing for 5th semester, and the subject code is EC504. Now today it is the introduction, so it is called, so you can call this is an introductory class. So why digital signal processing? Now, I think you know about what is signal. Signal is nothing but it carries information, or say meaningful information. Let's take an example of say street light signal. That means we have three colors: red, green, and yellow, but it carries some information. So it is a signal. If it is a red signal, you have to stop. If it is green, you can go. If it is yellow, slow down, or you are about to stop yourself because red signal will come after that. So signal is quite often referred to as physical manifestation of a function of independent variables such as time, distance, position, temperature, pressure, etc. Now examples include speech or music signals, which represent air pressure variation as a function of time at a point in space. Now, digital signal processing is the field that deals with use of digital signal technology, that is, say, digital computers and processors to perform a wide variety of operations to alter and process digitally recorded signals. Now, DSP is nothing a subject. DSP is a subject lays down the foundation to be able to gain understanding the specialized subjects like digital image processing, computer vision, pattern recognition, statistical signal processing, machine learning, deep learning, probabilistic graphical models, etc. So DSP is the basic subjects that you have to understand if you want to gain some more knowledge about those subjects, some those specialized subjects. So now let us discuss about the DSP course outcome. In this course, after completion of this course, you can perform time, frequency, and Z transfer analysis on signals and systems. You can understand the interrelationship between discrete Fourier transform, that is DFT, and various other transformation techniques. You can understand the significance of various filter structures and efforts of rounding errors. You can design digital filter for a given specification, and you can understand the fast computation of discrete Fourier transform and appreciate the fast Fourier transform processing. And you can also understand the trade-off between normal and multi-rate DSP techniques and finite length word effects. Now let us let me suggest you some DSP textbook. Now among those are the textbook. Among all those, this A.V. Oppenheim and Safer, this is one of the best book, and S.K. Mitra, that is also one of the best books. So you can follow these two books, and many other books are also available. You can follow that also. Now let us first discuss about the point, that is what is a signal. I already told you that signal is nothing but a function of independent variables such as time, distance, position, temperature, pressure, etc. Signals are generally analog in nature, that is continuous in amplitude and continuous in time. Now, such as human voice, electrical signal, voltage or current, radio wave, optical signals, audio signals, so on. Now, electrical signals that is received from a transducer, such as microphone, thermometer, accelerometer, antenna, etc. Those are also signals. Now, and main point is signal basically contains a stream of information or data. A signal basically classified as continuous time signal and discrete time signal. And example of continuous time signals are voltage, current, temperature, speed, or say human voice, video signal, all those. And discrete time signals are basically daily minimum maximum temperature, lap intervals in races, sample continuous signals. And according to number of independent variables, signals can be classified as one-dimensional signal, that is a speech signal, it is varying with respect to time only. 2D signal, that is two-dimensional signal, that is image. Image is nothing but a signal where we have variation in x and direction and in y direction also. 2D image. Now we can have 3D image also, that is three-dimensional signal where we have variation across x-axis, y-axis as and z-axis. And multi-dimensional signal like video signal, we can have x-axis, y-axis, z-axis variation as well as time variation. Okay. Now based on independent variables, continuous time signal, it it is defined at every instant of time. Discrete time signal takes certain numerical values at specified discrete instant of time. Basically, sequence of numbers. So, types of signal are basically continuous time signal and discrete time signal. And the signal amplitude may be either continuous or discrete. That means analog signal, it is continuous in time. It can be continuous in time and it can be discrete in time also. Okay. So, in case of discrete time, what happens? The amplitude is a continuous value of signal. That is not digital, that is analog. And for digital signal, time is discretized and amplitude is quantized. That means amplitude value is quantized to digital value. Now, computer and other digital devices are restricted to discrete time signals only. Now, this is an example of voice signal with respect to time, you can say. So this is the example of voice signal. If you record the voice and plot it, you will find out this kind of graph. And this is an example of ECG signal. So this is a say, part of complete ECG signal. Some parts are repetitive in nature. So let us take one part of that. Here we can have P, Q, R, S, T, U. Now looking into these parameters and the intervals, doctors usually understood what is the problem, is there any problem or not. And you can see the signal voltage is very small, 0.5 millivolt. So now what is signal processing? Now signal processing is nothing but operating in some fashion on a signal to extract some useful information. Now signal may have to be transformed in order to amplify or filter out embedded information, to detect patterns from any signal, to prepare the signal to survive a transmission channel, to prevent interference with other signals sharing a common media or medium, to undo distortions contributed by transmission channel, compensate for sensor deficiencies, and find information encoded in a different domain. So we can have many operations on signal. These are the some operations: amplification, filtered out, detection of patterns, okay, preparation of signal to survive the transmission channel, to eliminate the distortion, prevent interference, encode some signal. So those are the signal processing. Now, why we need signal processing? When a signal is transmitted from one point to another, there is every possibility of contamination or deformation of the signal by external noise. So to retrieve the original signal at the receivers, suitable filters are to be used. That is, signal is processed to obtain the pure signal. Categories of signal processing. There is number one is analog signal processing for signals that have not been digitized, as in classical radio signal, telephone signal, radar, television system. Now, this analog signal processing involves linear electronic circuits such as passive filter, active filter, additive mixers, integrators, delay lines. It also involves some nonlinear circuits such as comparator, multiplicators, frequency mixture, voltage control amplifier, voltage control filters, voltage control oscillators, phase lock loops. So all those analog signal, all those elements or say basic building blocks are required for analog signal processing, and all are basically made of some RLC type of circuits. Okay, now let us take one example of that. Say this is a continuous time system or analog signal system. This is a system where we are giving analog input. This is continuous in time and amplitude also continuous, and we are getting some output after analog signal processing. Now in that case, let us take one example of that. Suppose this is acoustic medium, means your voice signal will come from here. In this area, your voice signal in acoustic domain, right? Now microphone is here. Now what microphone is doing? It is converting that voice signal through the transducer to a to an electrical signal, either in voltage or current. Now that is very small, say very small voltage value or current value. Then what we are doing, we are amplifying that signal using some analog circuit, say amplifier circuit. Then the output is basically again converted through a speaker and transformed to acoustic domain so that we can hear that. Okay. So this is the total analog signal procedure. Now the second point is digital signal processing. For signals that have been digitized, processing is done by general purpose computers or by digital circuits such as ASICs, application specific integrated circuits, field programmable gate arrays, or specified digital signal processors. So the processing of the signal helps to estimate characteristic parameter of the signal and also to transform the signal into the desired form. Okay. Now let us take that example of digital system as a whole. This is a system, we have digital input, output also digital. Now you can see here samples are taken at equal interval. So time is discretized. Okay. And this value of the amplitude, say those are also digitized or quantized. Okay. Now similar example, say acoustic domain, voice signal comes, microphone convert into electrical signal, amplifier amplifies that. Then what we are doing, we have, this is in analog in nature, in analog after amplification. Now we are converting that analog signal into digital signal by analog to digital converter. Okay, that goes into digital processor which is connected to PC for some modification of the signal. What we can do, see there is a voice signal, you can add some music to that, and after addition of two signals, you can have voice with and music in background both. It can be mixed very easily. After that, what we are doing, that is in digital. Now we are converting digital to analog using D2A converter, digital to analog converter, and through this speaker it goes back to acoustic domain. So what we have acoustic domain, then electrical domain where amplification and analog to digital conversion going on, then digital domain where we can do some operation, some processing of the signal, we can add up, we can reduce, we can deduct some part, we can do any kind of operations. Then again moving back, going back to electrical domain by D2A and this speaker. After that we have acoustic domain again. So this is the process that is going on, and this part is the main part is this part for DSP. Okay, so why we go to digital at all? What is the reason behind that? Let me just tell you one or two points. The digital signal processing techniques are now so powerful that sometimes it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, for analog signal processing to achieve similar performance. That means, say, with a you have a voice signal and you can add up convert into digital, and we can add with that some other type of music and all, and we can mix that, and again we can convert into analog signal and to acoustic. You can return that signal to acoustic domain that we can hear. So this cannot be done by analog itself. So that is why this digital signal processing is very important. Now, examples are FIR filter with linear phase, adaptive filter. Now, about those points you will come to know later. Now, analog signal processing is achieved by using analog components such as resistor, capacitor, and inductors. Now, the inherent tolerances associated with these components, that is temperature, voltage changes, and mechanical vibration, can dramatically affect the effect, effectiveness of the analog circuitry. So this is basically analog circuit basically prone to temperature, voltage change, mechanical vibration, whereas DSP is not. Now with DSP what happens? We can change the applications, we can correct the application, we can update the application very easily. Additionally, DSP can reduce noise susceptibility, chip count, development time, cost, and power consumption. And in some cases, we cannot go to digital where when the frequency is very high. For high frequency signals cannot be processed digitally because of two reasons. One is analog to digital converters ADC cannot work fast enough, and the application can be too complex to be performed in real time. Now, what is real time processing? Real time processing, now DSP processor have to perform tasks in real time. So, how do you define real time? The definition of real time depends on the application. Say for example, a 100 tap FIR filter performed in real time. If the DSP can perform the and complete the following operation between two samples, that means we have a function, there is a summation of some multiplier constant and x n minus k. X n is one sample, x minus k, second sample, third sample, like that way we have total 100 sample, and it is multiplied by some constant. Now first sample and second sample, it should compute the result. The processing time should be less than that. That means say this is time 0, this is 1 second. So we have to complete the computation before 1 second, and processing time may be smaller than that, and we may have some waiting time to get the next sample for the computation. So what we can say for real time application, waiting time must be equal to 0 or greater than 0. Okay, so it can be 0 means it is at here, greater than it will go something like that. So that will depend on what is the time that is between n and n plus 1, first sample and second sample. So always we have to process in real time. That is the problem point. Now the sum of products is the key element in most DSP algorithms. Now we have many algorithms: finite impulse response algorithm, infinite response filter, then convolution, discrete Fourier transform, discrete cosine transform. Those we will study later on, no problem. Now, definition of DSP, say digital signal processing is the process of analyzing and modifying a signal to optimize or improve its efficiency or performance. It involves applying various mathematical and computational algorithms to analog and digital signals to produce a signal that of higher quality than the original signal. So that is the work or function of DSP. Now concerned with representation of signals by sequence of numbers, that means DSP is nothing but digital signals are nothing but sequence of numbers. So we have to concern with representation of signals by sequence of numbers or symbols and the processing of this sequence. The purpose of such processing may be to estimate characteristic parameter or transform a signal. Now in DSP, let us take the example of that. Say human voice, and ear catch the human voice, and it goes to brain, and it compute the meaning of that, and we can understand that. So this is an analog part. Okay. Now digital computer, what it do, basically it does, it takes the voice signal, convert into electrical voltage or current, right, through a microphone or through a transducer, say, and it convert from analog to digital by using ADC, analog to digital converter. Okay. And it goes into the DSP, digital signal processor. It processes something and gives output as digital. So DSP takes input as digital, output as digital, then it convert into digital to analog format, and it goes to the output through a speaker or anything else. Okay. So this is the analog thing, our brain, ear, and everything, and this is the digital computer or DSP. Why DSP? Digital data storage and transmission is much more effective than in the analog form. That is the first point. Flexibility, processing functions can be altered or adjusted very easily. Possibility of implementing much more complicated processing function using digital data. Efficient implementation of fast algorithms and matrix based processing of the digital data. Okay. Speed of digital operation tends to grow rapidly with years of technical progress. Very high accuracy and reliability is possible to achieve. Dynamic range can be increased, and signal multiplexing, that is simultaneous or parallel processing, is possible in DSP. So now let us take the look at the difference. This is an example of analog signal which is continuous in time, okay, axis, and continuous in amplitude, also continuous. Now here we can see this time axis is discretized. That means we are taking some sample at at equal interval of time. Okay, so time is discretized, and we can say amplitude is also, we can do discretized, or say we can quantized. That means we can have digital data. That means say your uh, amplitude is say 1, we can assume this amplitude as 001, okay, in binary number. The amplitude 1.5, we can convert that into 1.5. Like that way we can code that amplitude, that becomes digital signal. The advantage of DSP is it is more flexible, often easier system to upgrade, data easily stored in memory, because so if you want to save this data, how many data point you will take, that is infinity data are here, so it is not possible. But if you take some data from that signal, then we can store the data very easily. And how we can take the data, that depends on some points that I will discuss. So data easily stored in memory, better control over accuracy requirements, reproducibility, and linear phase characteristics, no drift with time and temperature. So it is DSP is not depend on temperature and their variation. Okay, but where analog circuit, RLC circuit depends on, I mean, it can vary with respect to time, temperature, as well as mechanical vibration and all. Now limitation is analog to digital converter speed or signal processor speed, and for the band limited signal, it is wide band limited signal, still it is difficult for real time system, and due to finite word length effect. That word length effect means the amplitude value, how many bits of that you will take, or you will assume. That means you will take 3 bits data to represent the amplitude value, or you take 4-bit data, 8-bit data, 16-bit data, depend on that. So finite word length effect that comes into picture. Now digital signal processing aim and tools. Now application is predicting systems output, implementing a certain processing task, studying a certain signal. Now in that for that case, we may have some hardware, that is general purpose processors, microcontrollers, digital signal processors, DSP, programmable logic. Now here DSP is faster and real-time DSP processing. DSP is processing is required, real-time processing. So using DSP and this FPGA PLD, that is possible. Now for that we require some software also, like programming languages Pascal, C, C++, high level languages also, MATLAB, MATCAP, Mathematica, and we require some dedicated tools like filter design, software packages, all. So these are the aim and some tools that we require for DSP. Now let us see the applications. DSP has a variety of applications. First one is a communication system for modulation, demodulation, channel equalization, echo cancellation. Okay. Then consumer electronics in audio, video, DVD, speech synthesis, speech recognition in consumer electronics. Okay. In music, synthetic instruments, audio effect, noise reduction. Then medical diagnostic, that is magnetic resonance and ultrasonic imaging, computer tomography, ECG, EEG, MEG, audiology. In geophysics, that is seismology, oil exploration. In astronomy also, in some experimental physics, sensor data evaluation, aviation, radar, radio navigation, security, digital watermarking, biometric identification, surveillance system, signal intelligence, okay, in and engineering in control system, feature extraction for pattern recognition. So DSP has now many applications. Okay, first application. Now say digital signal processing. Now what is analog? Analog signal is nothing but continuous function of say voltage, okay, of continuous variable t time. So you can see this is a continuous signal. Okay. Now if we sampled the signal, okay, that is called discrete time. That means we are taking 0, then at 1, at 2, at 3, 4, like that way. We are taking the values of the at 0, then at 1, we are taking the value of the amplitude at 2, at 3, at 4. That means sampling interval is nothing but say 1 second or 1 millisecond or 1 microsecond, whatever. Okay. Now discrete time is nothing but now the here time becomes time discretized, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. So time is discretized. So this is called discrete time signal. Now here the amplitude can be continuous. That means this is 0, 0.2, like that will be going on. So amplitude is not discretized. So it is called discrete time analog signal. Okay. Now in uniform or periodic sampling is necessary. Now sampling frequency is what you this is the time sampling time, that is Ts. So sampling frequency will be 1 by Ts as f equal to 1 by T. So that this one you have to remember, sampling frequency. Okay, that is the 1 by sampling time. Sampling time means that is the interval after which we are taking the sample value. Okay. Now analog versus digital signal processing. In analog signal processor, we are taking analog input, getting analog output. But in digital signal processing, what will happen? Analog input has to convert into digital input by using analog to digital converter. Then digital signal processor will process on the data and it will give the digital data that must convert into analog by using digital to analog converter and will get the analog output. So for digital system implementation, analog input first we have to pass through anti-aliasing filter. Anti-aliasing filter, what it does basically it restrict the band of the signal. So the signal should be band limited. So we are limiting the band of the signal using the anti-aliasing filter. or we can say that it is basically filtering out the high frequencies. Okay. Analog to digital filter, analog to digital converter, what it is doing, it is basically gives us the sampling rate. Okay. How much sampling rate we can use, or we can decide the sampling time, so that sampling frequency. Number of bits parameter, that means how we can convert the amplitude to how many bits parameters are there. Okay. 10 we can say 5 we can write as 101 in binary, but that is 3 bit. Now you can convert it 8 bit also, so 5 zeros then 101. So depend on that you can decide number of bits parameter, then digital processing to get digital output. Okay. Now this is the total digital system implementation block diagram, where we have analog signal, analog input, analog filter or anti-alias filter. It filter out the high frequency and limit the band of the signal. So we get the filtered analog output, analog input, filtered analog input applied to ADC, analog to digital converter, and we get the digitized input. Digital signal processing gives us digitized output. DAC convert into analog output, and reconstruction filter, it gives you the analog output. Again, it will have some low pass filter to reduce the or to eliminate the high frequency noises. Now digital system implementation, A to D conversion. So this A to D conversion is very important. Now in A to ADC or A to D conversion, we have sample and hold circuit, quantizer and encoder. Okay. Now what is the most signals of practical interest are analog in nature: voice, video, radar signal, transducer, biological signals. So what you have to do, you have to first convert into digital. For that, we have to first sampling. You have to use sampler circuit. Then we will get discrete time signal after sampling. Then we have to use quantizer, that is quantize the amplitude value. Then quantize signal, then code. Then we have to generate the code of that binary code to get the digital signals. Okay. So what is the sampling operation? Conversion from continuous time or continuous valued signal to discrete time continuous valued signal. Right. So sampling means we are getting continuous, we are getting discrete time but continuous valued signal. Okay. Quantization means conversion from discrete time continuous valued signal to discrete time discrete valued signal. Okay. And coding means we are getting conversion from discrete time discrete valued signal to an efficient digital data format after coding. Now analog signal is always continuous in time and continuous in amplitude, that you have to remember. After sampling, what we are getting, again analog signal, but it is discrete in time but continuous in amplitude. So analog signal means it carries infinite information of time and infinite information of amplitude. Now analog or continuous time signal has some value defined at every time instance, so it has infinite number of sample points. It is impossible to digitize an infinite number of points. So the infinite points cannot be processed by digital signal processor or computer, since they require an infinite amount of memory space. So sampling is the process to reduce the time information or sample points. Okay. So the first essential step is analog to digital conversion, is to sample an analog signal. This step is performed by sample and hold circuit, which is samples at regular intervals called sampling interval or TS. Now sampling can take samples at a fixed time interval. The length of sampling interval is the same as the sampling period, and the reciprocal of sampling period is called sampling frequency, that already I told you, fs equal to 1 by Ts. Now, in brief acquisition time during which a sample is acquired, the sample and hold circuit holds the sample steady for the remainder of the sampling interval. The hold time needed because we have to provide time for an A to D converter to generate a digital code that best corresponds to the analog sample value. Okay. Now xt, if xt is the input to the sampler, the output is x of nt. Okay, where t is the sampling interval and n is the number of data. So when n equal to 0, then x of 0, 1, then this t, then x of 2t, x of 3t, like that way it will go on. So x of 0 is the first data, x of 1 is second data, x of 2t is the third data, like that way. After the sampling, the signal is called discrete time continuous signal, which is discrete in time and continuous in amplitude. So this is the example. This is an example of analog signal. Now say I sample every 1 second. So at 0, 1, 2, so at 1, at 2, 3, 4, 5, it is sampling the data. So this is nothing but discrete time signal. Okay, and it is for 0.1 second. This is for 1.1 microsecond. So it will depend how many sample interval, what is the time of sampling time, that is important parameter. Figure below shows an analog continuous time signal, which this is the solid line. Okay, now after sampling, those dot points are the sample signal sample, analog signal sample, and this difference is the sampling interval. Okay. And so say it has take at 0 point, it is taking one value 0, it has to hold for the sampling time, then it will take the next data, then it will hold again next data, it will hold for how much time, say for t. So 0t, 2t, 3t, 4t, it will go like this way. Why it has required this time? This time it depends on the A to D converter speed. Okay. So this process, that is why this process is called sample and hold. It will sample the data and it will hold for some time. Again sample and hold. Now there is one point that you have to remember forever, that is Nyquist-Shannon sampling theorem. Now, the sampling theorem guarantees that an analog signal can be perfectly recovered as long as the sampling rate is at least twice as large as the highest frequency component of the analog signal to be sampled. That means sampling frequency should be greater than equal to twice of f max. So f max is the maximum frequency component of the analog signal. Okay, now how we have to sample that signal, that will depend on the maximum frequency of that particular analog signal, and that sampling frequency should be greater than equal to twice of f max. So this one you have to remember. So for a given sampling interval t, which is defined as the time span between two sample points, so f is equal to 1 by t. Now say if sampling period is 125 microsecond, the sampling rate fs will be 1 by 125 microsecond, which is 8000 samples per second or 8000 hertz. Okay. Now suppose in order to sample a voice signal, say containing frequency up to 4 kilohertz, what should be the sampling frequency of the voice signal? Then twice of 4 hertz, that is 4 kilohertz, that is 8 kilohertz. Okay. Suppose similarly for sampling of sound with frequency up to 20 kilohertz, then sampling frequency must be greater than or equal to 20 kilohertz, so that should be at least 40 kilohertz, okay, or 40,000 samples per second. Now suppose for the following analog signal, find the Nyquist sampling rate. Suppose xt is 3 cosine of 70 pi t. Okay. Now from that we have to first find out what is the f max. Now cosine of 2 pi ft, That is the formula, cosine of 2 pi ft. So 2 pi f means f max. So 2 pi f max, that is equal to 70 pi. 2 pi ft. 2 pi f is 70 pi. So f is 70 pi by 2 pi, 35 hertz. So fs must be 70 hertz at least, according to the sampling frequency, according to the Nyquist-Shannon sampling theorem. Now, if fs is 70 hertz, then the digital signal would have a frequency, that is say omega equal to what? 2 pi 35 divided by fx by fmax by fs. So it becomes pi. So xn equal to 3 of cos pi n. So omega is nothing but 2 pi f f f f max divided by fs, f max divided by fs. So this is the digital signal. Now suppose the sampling frequency of the following signal. Suppose there is a signal, it has three components, frequency component. What are the frequency component? 2 pi ft, so 25 hertz, this is 150 hertz, this is 100 hertz. Now among these three components, which one is maximum? 150. So sampling frequency must be greater than equal to 300 hertz. Okay. Now digital system implementation, what is known as aliasing. Now suppose there is a train, if you see that when train starts will go clockwise rotation, wise rotation. When train accelerates, will go counter clockwise rotation. Why? That we usually see. Why? Because of the frequency misidentification due to low sampling frequency. Okay. So actually most human eye can see it's under, we don't notice anything if it is less than 50 or 60 hertz, right? Because you can see, we cannot see the 50 hertz AC main signal, right? You cannot see that. Then generally people notice when the frame rate is less than the refresh rate of the display. Okay, depending on the CRT, the cathode ray tube, you could see the flicker at 30 hertz or you could see it at 120 hertz. You cannot see 30 hertz, but we can see 120 hertz. So now aliasing is what? When the minimum sampling rate is not respected, distortion called aliasing occurs. Now aliasing causes high frequency signals to appear as low frequency signals. Okay. But to be sure aliasing will not occur, sampling is always preceded by low pass filtering, and the low pass filter called anti-aliasing filter, that already you have seen, removes all frequency above the half the selected sampling rate. Okay. Now suppose this is a 40 hertz signal, okay, and the sampling interval is 0.01 second. That means f is equal to 100 hertz. Now which is greater than twice of 40 hertz. So your sampling theorem condition is satisfied. There is no problem. Now say this is a 90 hertz sinusoids and TS is say 0.01 second. Sampling frequency is 100 hertz, but this is less than the sampling frequency. Sampling frequency should be at least greater than twice of 2 f max. That means at least 180 by hertz, but it is 100. That means what? There is, it can, what we can see, 100 hertz minus 90, 10. So we can see a 10 hertz signal. So that means what? This 90 hertz signal is possessed like a 10 hertz signal. So because this sampling theorem condition is not satisfied. Now based on the sample amplitude level to the circles on the second plot, what we can say that we cannot tell whether the sample signal comes from 90 hertz signal or 10 hertz signal, right? So it, this 90 hertz signal, but it gives you a signal 10 hertz. Okay. So these sampled point are basically coming from 10 Hz signal or 90 Hz signal that we cannot identify. That is the frequency misidentification. Okay. So they are not distinguishable, thus they are aliases of each other. Okay. So we call the 10 Hz sine wave the aliasing noise in this case, since the sampled amplitudes actually came from sampling the 90 Hz sine wave. Okay. So high, so this is poses like a low frequency signal. Now time and frequency domain. There are two complementary signal description. One is time domain, another one is frequency domain. Now in time domain, suppose this is a 1 kilohertz signal in time domain. In frequency domain, what we can see, there is this single spike at 100 hertz or 1 kilohertz. So time domain, if you see, if you have two signals, in frequency domain you can see the two spikes of respective frequencies. So frequency domain is very much easier to find out the frequency of a complex signals. So this is a signal and this is a one-sided spectrum of the signal. So it has frequency say W. So it is almost like frequency up to W. Okay, band limited signal, and it can we can find out the negative side also. This is called two-sided minus W to W. Okay, now anti-aliasing filter, the signal with no frequency component above a certain maximum frequency is known as a band limited signal. In our case, we want to have a signal band limited to half of fs, half of sampling frequency. Okay. Sometimes higher frequency components, both harmonics and noise, are added to the analog signal. Okay. So in order to keep analog signal band limited, we need a filter, usually a low pass filter that stops all frequency above half of fs. This is called anti-aliasing filter. Anti-aliasing filters are analog filters. They process the signal before it is sampled. Okay. In most cases, so that there will be no aliasing effect. In most cases, there are also low pass filters unless band pass sampling techniques are used. Undersampling means what? When if the sampling rate is lower than required Nyquist rate, that is fs less than twice of w or frequency, twice of maximum frequency, it is called undersampling. In undersampling, images of high frequency signals enormously appear in the baseband or due to aliasing. Undersampling. So sampling of bandwidth, band limited signal. Now for a band limited signal, sampling frequency can be greater than equal to the bandwidth of the signal. And if for a signal, it is greater than 2 f max. For a band limited signal, it is greater than equal to bandwidth of the signal. Okay. Now these two differences you have to remember. Now oversampling means f is greater than twice of f max. This is for signal, not band limited signal. Okay. And say this is the example of oversampling for a band limited signal. So for that it can be, now you can see here, this is your band from B to minus B. Oversampled means we have the low pass filter that is up to fs by 2 is greater than B. Fs by 2 is greater than B. So it is oversampled. So there will be no aliasing effect. Now say this is a non-ideal low pass filter and here it is oversampled. This is the range W, but fs minus W is here. So it is oversampled. Nyquist rate means it is up to W. So it is Nyquist. Now undersample means it is less than W. Then what happens? Here we have the overlapping of two spectrum. That means this is the aliasing effect. Similarly for band limited signal, it should be minus B to B. Okay. So band limited signal minus B to B. And here this is say W, that is say F max or say twice of F max. Okay. Band limited signal is should F max should be equal to B, sorry, And time sampling frequency repetition, fs greater than to b, that means it is greater than here, it is up to b, and fs less than to b, that means it is less than b. So there is a overlapping of each spectrum. So aliasing, that is, this is called aliasing. So aliasing happens when the sampling frequency is less than twice of fx, or sampling frequency is less than the bandwidth of the band limited signal. Now aliasing is signal ambiguity in frequency domain, that you have to remember. So these are the basics idea of digital signal processing and why it is necessary. Okay, and what are the advantages, disadvantages, all those points that already I have discussed. So try to go through that slides once again. Anyway, this is it for today. Thank you so much.